This is one of those videos where I'm sitting down to make it. And I am making sure, I'm researching left, right, and center to make sure that research is a strong word. Word. Some of you call me a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I went to journalism school. That was great. Helped me with editing. Had some great professors that really helped me with storytelling stuff that I use on the main channel and all that. But I'm not a journalist. I sit here. I see things. I talk about stuff. That's that's it. Sometimes we make sure we read an extra article. But this is one of those that I got my hands on, and based off of the initial stuff I was seeing, I was like, there's no way. There's no way that's true. I'm not the hardest guy to fool. Sometimes I see stuff, and I'm like, and then it ends up not being true. But this one didn't believe it. Thought it was false. Read a couple articles, found a couple more posts from reputable people. Turns out it's true. I am baffled as to how this is true. I'm not an easily befuddled individual. I'm used to tomfoolery. I'm used to nonsense. But this just feels like the greatest overreaction I've ever seen. So in the final phase of the Colombian Primera Division, there's a match between Atlético Nacional and Independiente Santa Fe. Okay, I used to manage in Colombia on Football Manager, so I know that this is a pretty big match. Atlético Nacional, I've met a footballer that played in Colombia before. He described them as the New York Yankees of Colombian football. Independiente Santa Fe, a hated rival. So we're going into a match that is in South America, big derby, top league, some of the biggest clubs in the country. And we're not talking Bolivia here, right? We're talking Colombia. No offense to Bolivia. I don't want to play them at that altitude either. Okay, but this is going to be a crazy, intense match from the get-go with the context clues that you've been given. Now, the coach of Atlético Nacional is a guy named Efraín Juárez. Okay, and Efraín Juárez is a Mexican dude. He's like 36 years old, very young manager, and he celebrates a goal from Atletico Madrid. Atlético Nacional. He celebrates a goal from Atlético Nacional. And the first time I saw this celebration, I went, all right, yeah, that's fine. Here's Efraín right here. This is Efraín Juárez. The goal has been scored. Celebration time, baby. Yeah, we're pumping fists. We're pumping a lot of fists. Looks kind of like a shake weight advertisement, but we're pumping fists. We're chest pumping. And then we're turning towards the field, and that's kind of it. We're staring at the stands maybe a little bit. We're staring at the bench a little bit. But the sort of stuff that Jose Mourinho does every morning when he gets out of the shower. There's nothing about this and I'm a pretty conscious person of all of this stuff. I'm pretty hard on crowds. I'm pretty hard on players and coaches that cross the line. Right, because this is a job, and nobody should actually be under threat when all of this stuff is going on. So I'm usually, if you're setting up camps, I'm usually self-aware here. I'm usually going in the camp that's like, oh, that was too far. I like a good bit of bants. I like a good bit of fun. But if it's physical, if it's derogatory, right, I'm usually, oh, that's too far. But I watch this, a celebration. The player was probably doing the exact same thing on the field. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. It's a derby. You just scored. You give it some fist bumps. You look at the crowd. You're like, that guttural, roar. I just did something good in a sporting, athletic accomplishment, achievement, competition thing. Yay. Well, I'm going to hit you with the trivia here because you will never guess it. Efraín Juárez was suspended from coaching. And I shouldn't say he was suspended from coaching. That's technically false. He was suspended from attending matches with a large audience for 3 years. Not days, not hours, not weeks, not matches, not months. 3 years. He was suspended for 3 years for that. That is a crime. I mean, if I was this guy, I'd be suing everyone under the sun. Okay, there is a bit more to this story. He was given a red card after there was a bit of a kerfuffle. A couple of fans came onto the field after this celebration. So apparently he was looking into the opposing fans section so that, the fans got a little hubbub. They got a little out of control. They got up to a little nonsense. The Independiente Santa Fe players got upset. They came over to the bench. They were arguing. The referee then came over and gave Efrain Juarez a red card for that. They gave him a red card for that. And I have looked all over. This is the best video I can find of the incident. And I've even read stuff to provide more context that after he gets the red card, he walks off the field and pretends to have handcuffs on. Like he's been, he's being handcuffed by the referee, which, again, Jose Mourinho does that getting out of bed in the morning. Good morning, sweetie. Oh, you got to take out the trash. Handcuffs! I have been enslaved in my own home. Like, I just imagine that's what it's like to deal with Jose Mourinho. I don't even know if he's got somebody in the bed with him. I feel like Jose Mourinho would be a cat guy, weirdly. I feel like the personalities would kind of match up. Maybe he just, his cat's just laying in his bed with him. Maybe Jose Mourinho's just like a cat dude. That's cool. I don't know what, the more I think about it, the less I know what Jose Mourinho does with his life. And for some reason, it bothers me. I feel like he should have a reality TV show or a YouTube channel with a vlog or something. But we are off track because we're talking about this, and this is insane. This is insane. 3 years. Now, of course, reasons were given for this. And of course, they were dumb, right? The reasons given for this, I don't understand. I don't understand how they speaking of losing the forest for the trees, they've lost the entire forest for like a pebble on the ground here. They're not seeing the big picture in this at all, but they think that they are. Okay. According to the officials, Juarez's celebratory gestures were provocative and aimed directly at the DIM fans. This behavior allegedly led to angry reactions from the crowd, with some fans even invading the field, creating a tense and dangerous situation. I'm going to be honest here. How is that Efrain Juarez's fault? If Efrain Juarez goes into the stands, if he throws something into the stands, if he flips the double bird, if he flips the double bird and then moons the opposing fan section, he didn't do that. He pumped his fists and stared at them. Half of those drunk dudes have been staring at the back of his head all night. They've been saying heinous shit about every relative he's got. They've probably been throwing stuff at him. It's South America. He pumps his fists and looks at them, and he's suspended for 3 years because, and here we go, the Colombian urban police's permanent inspection, so that is a mouthful, a body responsible for maintaining order in sports, took the matter seriously. They claim that Juarez's actions were clear and blunt violations of sports norms. I would argue no. In fact, this very evening, I played in a co-ed, soccer league. I did. We lost in the semifinals of the playoffs. It sucked. There were multiple celebrations more inflammatory than that in that league. There was a red card handed out in the match for a sliding challenge. It was all, there was a whole lot of nonsense going on. But I think if it's happening in a Sunday league like that, then it's a sporting norm. I mean, my goodness, the wickedness of some of the challenges you see in South American World Cup qualifying, the intensity, the level of the celebrations from both the fans and the players and the coaches. I mean, this is the sort of call you would expect, like, I don't know, maybe in a U9 game where everybody's just there to have fun. And you go, yeah, well, the coach was a little weird. He was staring down all of the parents and, kind of pumping his fists at them repeatedly, and it was just making everybody uncomfortable. Like, I get it, maybe in a U9 league. But this is grown-up sports. I mean, goodness, what are you supposed to do when you score? Look at the ground and go, gee willikers, Batman, what a strike. Like, you scored, you go, ah, and it's over. And then it's over. And you know whose fault it is? If these fans aren't caged animals here. We're not dealing with a tiger or like some sort of gorilla. Harambe is not in the stands, right? These are human beings capable of not being violent when violence is not perpetuated. Like, if somebody is not being violent to you, why are you being violent? I realize philosophers can probably duel it out to come up with some sort of situation where there is actually an answer to that. But in a sporting context here, right? If he does this to you, do it back. Flick him off. Like, do one of these. One of those. Do whatever you want. You can do 2 of them. You can pour your beer on your head and scream at him if you want. Take your shirt off. Twist your own nipples. Do whatever you want in response within legal limits in Colombia. I'm not trying to get anybody arrested here. But this, the fans are just frothing at the mouth and not responsible for anything they do. Like, the way this is being worded is like, well, the fans had no choice but to be incredibly violent and unruly and run on the field, and so we must suspend the coach for 3 years. He's also fined the equivalent of $6,500 US, but I think the fact that he coaches a team in Colombia and can't enter a major sporting event for 3 years is probably going to have a bigger impact on his livelihood than a $6,500 fine. Now, this article from the RegTech Times, there are a couple of articles I've found on it. The ban is considered one of the most severe penalties ever handed down to a coach in Colombian football, but the authorities explained that the punishment was necessary to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. You want to prevent similar incidents from happening? Get more security. If you cannot control the fans when players and coaches are celebrating, get more security. You know what'll happen after a while? The fans will realize they can't just do unchained, unhinged shit whenever they want and then be able to get the coach punished for 3 years for inciting them. I'm sorry, this isn't inciting. It's just not. If it is, then everybody I've ever played against in FIFA has the right to jump through the screen and punch me in the face and storm the field of my apartment. Now, fortunately, the coach has filed an appeal. His lawyer argues that the punishment is excessive and unfair, and until the appeal is resolved, the ruling is not final. But I think it is clear to me, unless there is something that we've missed here, right? What the hell is going on with this suspension? How does it make any sense at all?